Merci,
5 minutes.
merci.
Merci, monsieur.
Let's carry on down on the riverside. That was fantastic.
Rebecca Pritchard wasn't just another face on Salvage Hunters. She was the backbone of the show. She helped turn forgotten objects into valuable treasures and made antiques feel accessible to millions of people. For years, viewers trusted her judgment and admired her steady presence. But then, without warning, everything suddenly changed. A once solid partnership between Rebecca and her husband began to crack. A shocking scandal surfaced, and fans began noticing a drastic change in her physical appearance. But before anyone could fully understand what was happening, Rebecca stepped away from television entirely for reasons that are both shocking and heartbreaking. Where she is today and what she's been quietly building would definitely leave you stunned. The rise of Rebecca Pritchard. On screen, Rebecca Pritchard was the steady heartbeat of Salvage Hunters. She was the woman who could turn dusty relics into five-figure treasures, who explained complicated valuations in a way anyone could understand. In fact, many fans saw her as the true backbone of the show. But while millions watched her rise on television, most people never realized that behind that polished smile, things were already unraveling. And once you learn what was really happening off-camera, you'll understand why Rebecca's life took such a dramatic turn. Rebecca Jane Pritchard was born on February 19, 1958. British by nationality and Caucasian by ethnicity, she grew up in the United Kingdom with an early fascination for design, property, and antiques. Long before television ever entered the picture, Rebecca was already building a practical foundation for the career that would later make her famous. Before cameras followed her every move, Rebecca worked as a property developer, buying and renovating houses from the ground up. It wasn't glamorous work. It meant dealing with builders, budgets, deadlines, and unexpected setbacks. But it taught her something priceless: how to spot potential where others only saw problems. At the same time, Rebecca worked in the fashion industry, where she learned how to spot small details, understand what looks good, and present things in an attractive way. That experience taught her how design works, but it also taught her how to think about money. She didn't just care about how something looked, she cared about how much it could sell for. These two industries, property and fashion, quietly shaped Rebecca into exactly what antique television needed. And by the time she stepped into the world of broadcast media, she already had hands-on experience in restoration, renovation, and valuation. She knew what materials lasted. She knew what trends sold faster. And most importantly, she knew how to turn overlooked objects into profitable investments. In 2011, Rebecca's life changed when she joined Salvage Hunters on Discovery Channel. Co-presenting alongside her then-husband Drew Pritchard and antiques specialist John T. From the very beginning, her role was crystal clear. While Drew hunted down bold, sometimes risky purchases across the country, Rebecca became the voice of reason. She assessed the value of their finds. She weighed restoration costs. She calculated resale potential. Where Drew followed instinct, Rebecca followed logic. And that contrast worked beautifully. Her calm, analytical approach balanced Drew's impulsive buying style, creating a dynamic audience instantly connected with. Viewers loved watching Rebecca break down complex valuations into simple, relatable explanations. She knew exactly how to guide them through the process. Over time, Salvage Hunters grew into one of the UK's most successful antiques programs, eventually running for more than 18 seasons. The show appealed not just to hardcore collectors, but also to everyday viewers who suddenly found themselves fascinated by old doors, industrial lamps, and forgotten furniture. Rebecca played a massive role in that success. Fans admired her professionalism, her quiet charisma, and her deep knowledge of restoration. She had a way of making antiques feel accessible instead of intimidating. She turned dusty warehouses into treasure troves and made the art of valuation feel exciting rather than technical. Many viewers openly credited her with giving the show its credibility. Without Rebecca, it wouldn't have been just about buying and selling. She brought balance, she brought structure, she brought trust. For a lot of fans, she was the grounding force that kept the series from becoming all about one personality. On camera, everything looked perfect. Rebecca had a successful career, a hit television show, a professional partnership with her husband, and a reputation as one of Britain's most respected antique experts. But what audiences didn't see was the growing strain behind closed doors. Because while Rebecca was helping turn forgotten objects into profit, her own personal life was quietly coming apart. The marriage that once powered the show's chemistry was already under intense pressure. Tensions were rising, and the trust they once had for each other was beginning to fracture. Soon, a devastating scandal erupted. And it didn't just end her relationship, it changed the direction of her entire life. The scandal that ruined her marriage. The secret behind Rebecca Pritchard's rise on television wasn't just her talent or expertise, it was the partnership she shared with her husband. Long before millions recognized her from Salvage Hunters, Rebecca's life was already deeply connected to that of Drew Pritchard. Born Andrew Thomas Pritchard in Conwy, North Wales, Drew established himself quite early as a respected antique dealer and restorer. He was particularly known for architectural salvage and stained glass restoration. Their shared passion for antiques became both a personal connection and a professional foundation. They eventually married, and what followed was a rare kind of partnership where business and personal life became inseparable. On screen, their chemistry felt effortless. Drew handled the hunt, tracking down forgotten treasures in warehouses, factories, and derelict buildings, while Rebecca assessed each item's worth, restoration potential, and resale prospects with calm precision. This partnership became central to the show's identity. Drew operated on instinct and bold decision-making, often guided by gut feeling and experience. On the other hand, Rebecca approached every piece analytically, breaking down costs, market trends, and long-term value. This balance gave Salvage Hunters its credibility and rhythm. Away from the cameras, their marriage wasn't simply emotional, it was operational. Every purchase carried financial implications for their family. Every restoration required joint agreement. Every sale represented both business success and personal achievement. Fans admired how they maintained professionalism on camera, even when negotiations grew tense. In fact, some fans began seeing them as a rare example of a couple successfully blending love with ambition. For years, their partnership appeared seamless, but behind the scenes, pressures were quietly building. By the mid-2010s, industry insiders began noticing some disturbing changes. They noticed how Drew's increasingly high-profile lifestyle stood in sharp contrast to Rebecca's reserved and private nature. Fame brought non-stop travel, demanding filming schedules, and the constant weight of running a growing antiques business under public scrutiny. What had once felt like a shared journey slowly became two very different ways of navigating success. Sadly, those differences started to strain the relationship. Drew's bold personality, already well known in the antiques world, became more pronounced as the show gained popularity. Rebecca, meanwhile, grew more withdrawn, focusing on her work while trying to protect her personal life from public attention. To make matters worse, shocking rumors soon began circulating. Whispers within the antiques community suggested that Drew's behavior off camera was becoming increasingly problematic. There were numerous stories of inappropriate relationships and unfaithfulness, spreading quietly at first before gaining momentum. Rebecca, who had always kept her private life out of the spotlight, suddenly found herself facing deeply personal issues while still maintaining a composed presence on television. The betrayal cut especially deep because their relationship was built on trust, not only as husband and wife, but also as business partners. Their professional bond made everything even more complicated. This wasn't just a marriage under strain. It was a shared enterprise beginning to fracture. Every personal conflict threatened the stability of their on-screen partnership. And while Rebecca continued fulfilling her role with grace, those close to the production noticed a growing emotional distance between them. On screen, Rebecca remained composed, analytical, and focused on her responsibilities. But the foundation beneath her life was starting to crack. Soon enough, it became clear that the partnership audiences loved was no longer the same behind closed doors. Things came to a head in 2017, when the tension in their marriage finally spilled into real life. But this time, it couldn't be hidden. News broke that Drew Pritchard had been involved in an affair with a married woman in Conwy. To make matters worse, the woman's husband, Janus Bryn Thomas, had confronted Drew at the Liverpool Arms pub. According to reports later shared in court, Thomas claimed Drew had been sending upsetting messages to his wife, and when he saw Drew sitting in the pub that night, he felt Drew was intentionally smirking at him from across the room. That was the breaking point. Angry and hurt, Thomas lashed out and physically confronted Drew, knocking him to the ground and causing him to drop his drink and glasses. Other people in the pub quickly stepped in to pull them apart. Drew wasn't seriously hurt, but the embarrassing incident quickly made headlines, turning a private affair into a very public one almost immediately. The incident landed in Llandudno Magistrates Court, where Thomas admitted assault. He was ordered to pay £1,440 in costs. In addition, he also received a ban from every pub in Conwy. During the hearing, the court was told that Drew had been messaging Thomas's wife, and that his behavior inside the pub had helped trigger the confrontation. By then, the story was everywhere. UK media outlets picked it up quickly, and suddenly Drew's personal life was front-page news. Fans had heard the rumors of him being unfaithful in the past, but this incident confirmed the truth about their marriage. The affair, the pub fight, the court ruling, all of it exposed a side of Drew that fans had never seen and pulled Rebecca into a heartbreaking storm she never asked to be part of. For Rebecca, this wasn't just embarrassing, it was devastating. She had spent years building credibility as a professional, keeping her private life out of the spotlight while helping grow one of Britain's most popular antiques shows. Now, she was being dragged into a scandal centered on betrayal, public confrontation, and courtroom drama. The timing couldn't have been worse. During the time of the scandal, their marriage was already under strain from fame, constant travel, and business pressure. The affair, followed by the highly publicized pub incident, pushed everything past the point of repair. Trust was broken, and the partnership they had built together began to unravel. Later that same year, Rebecca and Drew officially divorced. Legal filings confirmed the end of their marriage, though details about financial settlements were never made public. The couple had children, but their kids were kept completely out of the spotlight, with no custody disputes or legal battles playing out in the media. Rebecca stayed quiet, choosing privacy over headlines, while Drew continued forward in the public eye. But there's no way around it. The scandal changed everything. Rebecca didn't just lose her husband. She lost the life she had carefully built around their shared career. The show that once represented teamwork now carried reminders of betrayal. The business partnership that had defined her television success was gone. Overnight, she went from being one half of a powerful duo to standing alone, forced to rebuild without the platform that made her famous. And while Drew remained visible on television, Rebecca slowly stepped back, retreating from the spotlight that had once embraced her. The divorce marked the beginning of a completely different chapter in Rebecca Pritchard's life. Because once the divorce was finalized, Rebecca disappeared from the screens, and what followed was a quiet, complicated aftermath that few people truly understand. The heartbreaking aftermath of the divorce. When Rebecca and Drew's marriage officially ended in 2017, many people assumed that would also be the end of their working relationship. But that isn't what happened. Instead, Rebecca Jane Pritchard did something that quietly stunned viewers. Even after everything that had happened, she continued appearing on Salvage Hunters, sitting across from Drew Pritchard, calmly evaluating antiques, discussing restoration costs, and breaking down resale potential just like she always had. She showed up, did her job, and kept the show moving forward. And that took strength. For fans who knew what had gone on behind the scenes, watching Rebecca remain so composed was both impressive and heartbreaking. The scandal surrounding Drew's affair and the pub incident was still fresh in public memory, yet Rebecca handled every appearance with professionalism. She never let personal pain interfere with her role on the show. Many fans openly praised her online for staying focused and dignified under circumstances that would have broken most people. Her steady presence reassured fans that Salvage Hunters still had its balance, still had its credibility, and still had the calm voice that made the series feel grounded. In many ways, Rebecca became the emotional anchor of the program during that period. But while audiences saw consistency, something was changing beneath the surface. Not long after the scandal, Rebecca made a decision that no one expected. She decided to leave Salvage Hunters, the show that had made her famous for years. Fans were left confused, scrolling through forums and comment sections, trying to understand what had just happened. Almost immediately, speculation exploded. Some fans wondered if she was dealing with health problems. Others assumed there must have been behind-the-scenes tension with Drew. A few even believed she had simply grown tired of the spotlight. Rumors went in every direction, but none of them were ever confirmed. When she eventually opened up about the true reason for her departure, fans were completely stunned. Rebecca chose to leave the show to pursue new ventures outside of television. Her final appearance came in season 18, marking the end of an era that had begun back in 2011. Rebecca had been part of Salvage Hunters from the very beginning. She helped shape its identity, build its credibility, and turn it into one of Britain's most successful antiques programs. So when she disappeared without a goodbye, fans felt it deeply. Many said online that they felt robbed of closure. Others wrote that the show didn't feel the same without her. Some even admitted they stopped watching altogether. Rebecca wasn't just another presenter. For a lot of viewers, she was the heart of the series. The silence surrounding her exit only made it harder. Rebecca herself never publicly explained her departure in extreme detail. She simply stepped back, choosing privacy, even as fans searched for answers. Meanwhile, Drew continued on the show after Rebecca left, but even that wouldn't last forever. After appearing in more than 240 episodes, Drew eventually announced that he too was stepping away from Salvage Hunters. He didn't point to a single reason for his decision. Instead, he pointed to personal struggles and the toll that fame had taken over the years. The pressures of television, combined with everything else in his life, had finally caught up with him. He returned to focusing on his Conwy-based antiques business, which he had been running since the 1990s. He also continued dealing in architectural salvage and stained glass restoration, the work he had always known best. With Drew's departure, the original version of Salvage Hunters effectively came to an end. The show carried on through spin-offs like Salvage Hunters, The Restorers, but for longtime viewers, something essential was gone. The dynamic that had once defined the series, Drew's bold hunting paired with Rebecca's careful analysis, was now just a memory. Rebecca had disappeared quietly. Drew had walked away, and the partnership that built the show no longer existed. For Rebecca, life after television looked nothing like life before it. She retreated almost completely from public view, choosing a far more private path while fans continued to wonder how she was really doing. The woman who once explained valuations to millions now lived away from the cameras, carrying the weight of a broken marriage, a lost career chapter, and years of emotional strain. But as Rebecca faded from screens, another question began circulating quietly among longtime viewers. This time it wasn't about her career or about Drew, but about her well-being. Because after everything she had been through, fans soon began noticing unsettling changes in her physical appearance. Rebecca's health status. After the divorce and everything that followed, viewers began paying much closer attention to Rebecca Jane Pritchard. Not just to her work on Salvage Hunters, but to how she looked physically. At first, the changes were subtle. Fans who had watched Rebecca since the early seasons began noticing that she appeared slimmer than before. It wasn't dramatic right away, but over time, especially as the series moved forward, the change became more noticeable. By the time Rebecca made her final appearances in 2021, many viewers were openly commenting on how much weight she seemed to have lost compared to earlier years. Soon enough, rumors, speculations, and questions began spreading online. Social media posts and fan forums filled up with concern. Some viewers wondered if Rebecca had been dealing with a serious illness. Others thought the physical change might be connected to the emotional stress of her divorce and the very public scandal involving Drew. A few even tried to guess specific medical conditions, despite having no real information to go on. What made everything more intense was Rebecca's silence. She never came out to explain the weight loss. She didn't post updates about her health to address the rumors. For someone who had always kept her personal life private, this was completely in character. But for fans who cared about her, the lack of answers only made them worry more. Despite the rumors, there has never been any verified medical information released about Rebecca. Reliable sources have consistently pointed out that Rebecca has always been a very private person who rarely shares personal details, especially when it comes to her body or well-being. Unlike many public figures, she never used social media to explain what was happening in her life, and she didn't feel the need to reassure the public with updates. That choice left fans guessing, but it also showed something important about Rebecca's character. She prefers to handle difficult moments quietly and on her own terms. While rumors continued to circulate online, those close to the antiques world emphasized that weight loss alone doesn't automatically mean someone is seriously ill. Changes like that can come from many things, such as stress, lifestyle adjustments, emotional recovery, or personal health goals. Without Rebecca herself confirming anything, there's simply no evidence to support claims of a specific medical condition. What is known is that in more recent updates from 2025 into early 2026, Rebecca has been described as healthy and active. She has continued working in antiques and restoration, staying connected to the field she built her career on long before television. While she no longer lives in the spotlight, she remains professionally engaged, focusing on projects that matter to her and maintaining a much quieter life away from cameras. For fans who remember her steady presence on Salvage Hunters, that's reassuring. It's easy to forget how much Rebecca went through in just a few short years. She endured a very public scandal, the end of a long marriage, the loss of a shared career, and then a sudden exit from a show she helped build from day one. All of that happened while millions of people were watching, commenting, and forming opinions from the outside. And yet, Rebecca chose not to turn her personal struggles into headlines. She didn't give emotional interviews or explain herself publicly. She simply stepped back, focused on her own healing, and carried on privately. That strength is something many fans have come to admire, even more than her on-screen expertise. Looking back, the concern around Rebecca's health says a lot about how deeply viewers connected with her. She wasn't just another TV personality. People genuinely cared about her well-being, especially because they had watched her for over a decade, trusted her judgment, and respected the calm intelligence she brought to every episode. And with her health concerns finally quieting down, attention naturally turns to the next big question fans have been asking for years. Where exactly is Rebecca Pritchard now? And what is she really doing away from television? What is Rebecca Pritchard currently up to? After stepping away from Salvage Hunters, many fans wondered whether Rebecca Jane Pritchard had completely left the antiques world behind. The answer is simple. She never did. Rebecca didn't walk away from antiques. She just walked away from television. Today, she continues working in restoration and valuation much the same way she always has. The only difference now is that it happens quietly, without cameras following her from warehouse to warehouse. While her life is far more private, she remains deeply involved in the trade, using the same skills that made her such a trusted voice on screen. Rebecca is still hands-on with every project she takes on. She evaluates items for restoration, oversees repair processes, and makes sure each piece keeps its historical character while also making sense from a resale point of view. She doesn't rush decisions or chase trends. Instead, she focuses on quality, authenticity, and long-term value, exactly the approach viewers grew used to watching on TV. Her main areas of expertise include furniture, textiles, and decorative antiques. And this is where her background really shines. Years spent in fashion taught her about materials, texture, and presentation, while her experience in property development gave her a practical understanding of how antiques fit into real living spaces. That combination allows her to see not just what something is, but what it could become. Rather than doing every physical restoration herself, Rebecca typically works alongside specialist restorers and skilled craftspeople. She coordinates projects, guides design choices, and ensures that each piece is treated with care. It's a collaborative process, with Rebecca acting as the creative and commercial anchor, making sure nothing loses its original charm while still meeting modern expectations. She also runs her own independent antiques and restoration business. Unlike Drew Pritchard, who operates a large architectural salvage yard in Conway, Rebecca's work is far more boutique and specialized. She doesn't deal in huge volumes or mass stock anymore. Instead, she focuses on carefully selected pieces, giving each one personal attention from sourcing through to resale. Her company centers on exactly what fans remember her for: finding quality antiques, assessing their potential, restoring them thoughtfully, and placing them with the right buyers. It's the same skill set she showcased on television, just applied in a quieter, more personal way. Alongside antiques, Rebecca remains involved in property development projects, where she uses her restoration knowledge to enhance historic homes and interiors. Whether it's advising on original features or helping integrate antique pieces into renovated spaces, she continues blending design with practical value, something she's been doing long before her TV career began. While she doesn't run a large public showroom, Rebecca maintains a strong private network of dealers, restorers, and collectors. These relationships allow her to collaborate on projects, source unique items, and connect buyers with carefully restored pieces. It's a more behind-the-scenes way of working, but one that suits her preference for privacy. And yes, Rebecca Pritchard is still hunting. She regularly attends auctions, antique fairs, and dealer events across the UK. Only now she does it without microphones or production crews. Fans occasionally spot her at these events, quietly browsing stalls or speaking with sellers, confirming that she's still very much active in the antiques world. The only difference now is visibility. Since leaving Salvage Hunters, Rebecca has deliberately stepped back from the spotlight. She doesn't maintain a strong social media presence, and she rarely gives interviews. While Drew continued in a more public-facing role for years, Rebecca chose a different path, focused on her work rather than her profile. People who have crossed paths with her in recent years describe her as healthy, active, and fully engaged in her profession. She hasn't disappeared completely. She's simply chosen a slower, more private rhythm, concentrating on projects that matter to her instead of chasing publicity. For longtime fans who have loved her from the very beginning, this makes sense. Rebecca was never someone who seemed driven by fame. Even at the height of Salvage Hunters, she always came across as grounded, practical, and focused on the craft itself. Walking away from television didn't mean giving up her passion. It meant reclaiming it on her own terms. Today, she continues restoring beautiful pieces, advising on interiors, and working quietly within the antiques trade, surrounded by people who share her respect for craftsmanship and history. She may no longer be a weekly presence on TV screens, but in the world of antiques, she remains exactly where she belongs. Would you like to see Rebecca Pritchard make a comeback to television? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And if you love juicy deep dives into celebrity lives, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss a new video.